You cancelled the plan. Not because something came up, because nothing came up, and that felt like the better option. You told them you weren't feeling well, or that you had work, or you just left the message on read and figured they'd move on, and then you spent the evening alone, and it was fine. More than fine, actually. It was exactly what you needed. The quiet, the stillness, the absence of anyone needing anything from you. Most people would call that antisocial. You call it a good day. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you've wondered if something is wrong with you. If the fact that you'd rather be alone than almost anywhere else means you're broken in some quiet, hard-to-name way. You've heard the word lonely thrown at you like a diagnosis. You've watched people look confused when you decline invitations with no real explanation. But here's what's actually happening inside the mind of someone who genuinely prefers being alone, because it is not what most people assume. First, let's separate two things that get confused constantly. Preferring solitude is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is wanting connection and not having it. What we're talking about is something different. It's having the option of connection and finding that solitude still wins. That's not a wound. That's a preference. And there's a meaningful difference between the two that most conversations about this completely skip over. It's also not social anxiety wearing a costume. Social anxiety is fear-based. It avoids people because people feel threatening. The person we're talking about doesn't find people threatening. They find people exhausting in a way that has nothing to do with danger. That distinction matters because the solutions are completely different, and conflating the two sends people in the wrong direction entirely. So what is actually going on? There's a concept in neuroscience around dopamine sensitivity. People differ, genuinely and measurably, in how strongly their brains respond to external stimulation. For some people, a room full of conversation and noise is energizing. The brain lights up, reward signals fire. They leave feeling more alive than when they arrived. For other people, the same room registers differently. Not as threatening, just as a lot. Too many inputs arriving at once. Too many unpredictable variables to track. Too much cognitive bandwidth being used on things that don't feel necessary. And the brain, instead of feeling rewarded, feels spent. This isn't a flaw, it's calibration. The same way some people run hot and some people run cold. Neither is the correct temperature. They're just different systems working the way they were built to work. For the person who prefers solitude, quiet isn't the absence of something. It's the presence of something they genuinely cannot access when other people are around. Focus. Depth. A kind of internal stillness that functions like oxygen for how they think. There's also what researchers call a high need for cognitive closure. People who prefer solitude tend to think in longer, deeper threads. An idea doesn't feel finished after one pass. It needs to be turned around, examined from different angles, left alone for a while, and then returned to. That process is fragile. It breaks easily. Other people interrupt it. Not intentionally, just by being present. A question, a sound, a shift in the energy of the room, any of it can collapse a line of thinking that took 20 minutes to build. And for someone whose mind works this way, that interruption isn't just annoying. It's genuinely costly in a way that's hard to explain to someone who doesn't experience it. This is why the person who prefers solitude often does their clearest thinking, their best work, their most honest feeling, completely alone. Not because they're more intelligent than people who thrive socially, but because their process requires an environment that most social settings structurally cannot provide.